In Module 4, Lesson 9, we're going to be writing addition and subtraction expressions. So we start off in example 1. They ask us to write a bar diagram to show 3 plus 5. And you can see we have 1, 2, 3 plus 5 more. 3 plus 5. Then they ask, how would this look if you were asked to show 5 plus 3? And we can see that 5 plus 3 would look exactly the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 3 more. It looks exactly the same in a bar diagram. Are the two expressions equivalent? Yes. And so we could say that 3 plus 5 is equal to 5 plus 3. Remember, that is the commutative property of addition. We just talked about it in Lesson 8. And continuing with the bar diagram, they ask us how we can show a number increased by 2. So we can draw the model. Showing A for my first piece, and then being added on by 2. And example 3 asks us to write an expression to show the sum of m and k. So we could write m plus k or we could also write k plus m. And remember, the order doesn't matter because addition is commutative. Which property can be used to show that both expressions are equivalent? That is the commutative property of addition. Now example 4 asks us something a little different. How can we show 10 minus 6? And they're asking for a bar diagram, so we'll put 10 in our bar diagram. And then if we shade out 6 pieces from our 10, that would show 10 minus 6. Could we also use 6 minus 10? And hopefully you can see how completely wrong that is. So we know that subtraction is not commutative. You cannot change the order for subtraction. Which brings us to example 5, where they're asking us how we can write an expression to show 3 less than a number. So we start by drawing a diagram to model the subtraction. And here's our bar. Are we taking away from the 3 or the unknown? How can we write an expression to show 3 less than a number? Well, if I fill in 3 right here, our whole diagram is representing n meaning our number. Hopefully now once we do that, we can see that the expression needs to be n minus 3, not 3 minus n. 3 less than a number. Looking at example 6, how would we write an expression to show the number c being subtracted from the sum of a and b? So first we need to write the expression for the sum of a and b. and sum means to add. So A plus B is the sum. Then we need to show C being subtracted from that. So we have A plus B minus C. Then they ask us to write an expression to show the number C minus the sum of A and B. Something very different, because we're starting with C in this expression. The sum of A and B is the total that we get when we add A and B together. The parentheses are necessary in this example because we are subtracting the sum of A and B. So the wording of our problems dictates. Now, just to prove that, let's take a look at the difference between these two. Replace the variables with numbers to see if C minus the sum A and B is the same as C minus A plus B. So let's make A equals 1, B equal 2, and C equal 3. Seems reasonable, right? So in our first one, just go over here. If C is equal to 3, that would be 3 minus parentheses A, which is 1, plus B, which is 2. Okay? And when we do that, 1 plus 2 equals 3, and 3 minus 3 equals 0. Now let's try it again. 3 minus 1 plus 2. No parentheses. Now in this case, remember order of operations, we'll do 3 minus 1 equals 2, and 2 plus 2 equals 4. Very different answers. Now let's practice. We're going to write an expression to show the sum of 7 and 1.5. And there's our expression. Second, we're asked to write two expressions to show W increased by 4. Increasing by 4 is simply adding. So we would have W plus 4 and we can also write it as 4 plus W because addition is commutative. And they ask you to draw models to prove that both expressions represent the same thing. Next, we're going to write an expression to show the sum of A, B, and C. So we would have A plus B plus C. An expression and a model showing 3 less than P. Remember, subtraction is not commutative, so it's important that we get the order correct. And 3 less than P is P minus 3. An expression to show the difference of 3 and P. In this case, 3 comes first. The difference of 3 and P. The order matters in subtraction. Write an expression to show 4 less than the sum of G and 5. 4 less than. Remember less than from number 4 up above? And in that example, we were subtracting the number. So in this one, we first of all need the sum of g and 5. So we'll put that in parentheses and then subtract 4. Chose 4 less than the sum of g and 5. Next we have 4 decreased by the sum of g and 5. 4 decreased by. So when you think that through, you're starting with 4, and you're going to decrease it by the sum of g and 5. So inside parentheses, we'll put g plus 5. Then they ask us in number 8, should exercises 6 and 7 have different expressions? And they are definitely different because one is talking about decreasing some number by something else, and the other is for less than something else. So they're different orders. Keep on practicing on this concept because translating the words to the expressions will allow you to set up a word problem, otherwise you can't.